All right. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode here on the Lure Lab on the Serious Angler Network. And I'm your host, Andrew Full. And we have an awesome show on the docket today. We have the bait man, Kevin Baxter himself, coming on to talk a little bit of winter crankbait fishing. But first, we have some housekeeping we have to take care of. And we dropped an awesome episode last Saturday with Jake Boomer, the president of Alpha Angler, and we're talking some wintertime jig fishing. So as you can tell, there's a common theme going on right now. We're in the dead of winter, and we're talking wintertime techniques and baits. It's a lot of fun because up here in the Northeast, we don't get to use a lot of these winter techniques and until the ice comes off of our lakes. And then we get like 2 weeks before it jumps up straight into pre-spawn. So I've been thoroughly enjoying this. But you may have noticed the last two episodes, there was a do it molds like juice of the show question at the very end, and that is going to be a common theme going forward. I want to thank Do It Molds for stepping up and supporting Lure Lab and also being a continuous sponsor on the Serious Network page. We appreciate everything that you guys do for us, and we look forward to building more awesome baits throughout the spring and summer and winter here coming through 2023. So there's going to be a lot of content coming on the Lure Lab page along with the Serious Angler Network, and I'm sure there will be stuff on Business from the Bass Boat. But before I keep rambling, we should get Baitman on here himself so we can dive into this winter crankbait fishing technique. What's up, man? How are you?
Hey Andy, good for you to invite me here on the show. One of my favorite techniques is winter cranking, and shout out to Do It Molds as well. They're a great company. I've got a mold machine over here, a lead pouring machine, and some molds they sent me last year. And I actually make a lot of ball head jigs for my winter fishing as well. So always good to have good people support you.
Yeah, it's a really cool relationship we have, like growing and festering over there with them, and I look forward to seeing what they bring out in the future because I'm pretty sure there's going to be some awesome stuff coming. They always seem to be like leading on the mold innovation and dropping new soft plastic molds on us all the time that are really neat. And I wonder if they'll ever get into like hard baits because I feel like that would
I
be
think
something
they've
cool for
got.
them to do.
I think they're really getting big into the custom painting and stuff
Yeah.
now. And I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I've seen in their new catalog. They do send me one. I do read it, and they had some hard baked blanks. So if you're into custom painting or if you want to try your hand at it, I think you can order some blanks from them. They didn't pay me to say that. You didn't tell me to say that. That just
Yeah.
flying on Fake Man's head right there
Yeah.
because I don't have a life, so I just study fishing tackle.
It's funny. Whenever we get stuff from Do It, they send it right to Bailey because he lives like 7 minutes from my house, and he just dropped off a bunch of stuff for me to tinker with. But we're in the process of getting my house all packed up to show it off because we're selling it and moving. That I haven't even looked at the catalog, so I'm guilty of not knowing that there's hard bait blanks in there. So thank you for informing
Hey,
me. Now I have something to look
not
forward
a
to.
problem. You
Yeah.
ready to talk some winter cranking?
Yes. So we're going to dive into it, right? We're going to cover some layers of water. So the three main depths: shallow, intermediate, and deep. And we're talking offline, and you like to start deep. So why don't we
Right.
start off with the deep crankbait? So what are the deep crankbaits that you're throwing in the wintertime, and where do you target bass with these
Right.
cranks?
Well, first I want to say deep is relative. Well, I'm a Tennessee River guy. So to me, when I say deep, I really mean 12 to 20 foot. But in the winter, I like to be that 12 to 15 foot range, maybe down to 10. I'm actually targeting long bars that drop off in the main lake. If you don't know what a bar is, it's a natural occurrence rock formation that looks like a bar of rocks, and at the end it just juts down into deep water. It's kind of like a point, but it's made from current. It washes rock and stuff up, and usually they're near a point. I like creek channel swings near the bank where I can set the boat in deep water and throw to shallow. I even parallel that sometimes. Once I pinpoint exactly where the fish are, sometimes I'll get parallel. And a riprap.
Mhm.
Riprap is your friend for winter cranking because one, it harbors all kinds of bait fish, algae, and plankton, which brings the bait fish. And guess what it likes to bait fish? The bass. It gives them an easy access to go vertical in the water. They can move shallow to deep really quick. They like to suspend around riprap. It warms up fast, and you know what? It takes the headache out of trying to find fish. So, you know, a lake like Kentucky Lake, we've got several marinas, resorts, lots of riprap. You can just pull up and start fishing. And it's really cool now that with forward-facing sonar, you can scan around and you can find those little irregularities.
Gotcha.
You can tell a Kentucky in me, boy. You find that stuff, and that's where a lot of times the fish are. You might have to go down a whole stretch of riprap to find that little spot. But generally, they'll be in one or two little places. And a crankbait's just a really good way to catch those fish, especially parallel. So let's talk about the baits I like to fish those areas, whether it's points, creek channel swings, or riprap. And we'll start deep in one it's kind of forgotten. It's a really popular bait. And I know the Strike King guys love it. And, you know, I'm not sponsored by Strike King, but it's a good bait. And that's the Strike King Series 5. And you may recognize this one I'm about to pull out because it's in the color you like.
Ooh, and I think I know where we're going with this.
Yeah, so
maybe it doesn't want to be shown.
It may not. But I've caught a lot of fish on this. I know a lot of guys have, and this is a Series 5 Strike King. This color is called root beer, and it's white, and it's got a brown back with a little green flake on it. And this one's got a red eye. The other side's been knocked out because this one's been ate up quite a bit.
Does it have the orange belly on it too?
It does have an orange belly.
Yeah.
So one thing I like about this color, and it works really good with this bait, when this Series 5 is going down in the water, it's wiggling back and forth. It's got a nice, slow, enticing action to it. And it runs really vertical. So what that does is when you're bumping down riprap or rock or even a stump, it deflects really, really well. This thing just does not hang up hardly at all. It casts really good, and it gets down there in that 12, 13-foot zone. But with the way this thing is moving, like this, that water, that white side, especially on an overcast day, it's flashing really, really good. But it's not overbearing. This ain't like throwing a chartreuse in purple, which is one of my favorite colors, which is a really bright flash. It does have a natural look in the water. And
it'll mimic a bunch of forage too with that.
Right. So even though it's winter, there's still going to be bluegill and stuff out there around. Now with live scope, you see a lot of guys catching bluegill in the winter. They're still out there. Bass will still feed on them. So I like that right there. And then, I mean, this is a Series 5 with a little chartreuse back on it. It's a really, really good bait. It's just a pearl, natural color. And if you'll notice on there, one thing about these got Gamakatsu bronze hooks on them.
Oh, they're wide. Well, triple grip, basically.
Yeah,
right?
that one had a triple grip. This one, actually, Strike King put on the Gamakatsu round bends. They're different package, you'll say, with Gamakatsu hooks. But that's, man, those are hard to beat. But I like that bait. I like I've actually got a box here that's pretty specific for winter cranks. I got some pretty deep stuff in here.
Pretty specific, a box with 150 crankbaits in it.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So one that's really popular that I absolutely love, and I like to throw this.
Crawler.
It is. I like to get in that 12-foot range with some light line. So in the winter, a good tip, especially for these deeper crankbaits, I like 12-pound fluorocarbon. I will go down to 10 because here's the deal. When you're out in the winter and you hook a bass, a lot of times they're not thick into the cover, or you're not up shallow where you got to worry about them breaking you off. They're really lethargic if you can just keep pressure on the line and let your rod do the work. I like a moderate to maybe moderate fast rod, even a glass rod. Let the rod do the work. Let your drag and thumb. You can wear those fish out pretty easy because a lot of times they're not jumping this time of year. But I like that rock crawler too for that same kind of area. And with that light line, it will get down there. This is the deep version. This one's PB&J. But man, to be honest with you, as long as it's kind of a red or some kind of shad imitator, that's about all I stick to. I wish they had root beer in that. I would throw it. But
I agree. I know why you like that PB&J. It's the purple belly.
Yeah, when I bought it, this would be a really cool topic for you, is buying lures now that you won't be able to get in the spring. They make a couple colors of that rock crawler, a red crawl and a spring crawl, that's chartreuse. And every year they sell out about the end of February, March. And I got that to replace one because I couldn't find any anywhere. Tackle Warehouse, Omni, everywhere was out. And so I got that when I started catching fish. I don't think the purple matters, but it's just that profile. But that rock crawler is got that really good dive straight down, deflect action, kind of like an old wigglewort, but I don't like to pay old wigglewort prices.
Yeah, and I will say this real fast for everyone who is listening. Whatever baits on here are listed and talked about, and if they're on the Omnia website, they will be listed down below, and there is a 10% discount code. And if you're on Baitman's page, he also has an affiliate link as well that you can click on and go find baits there as well. So, and I believe that one is through the t-shirt that he is wearing. So people love that website. Yeah. So, all right, let's move forward.
Sure.
Mid-depth cranks.
Man, so this is the most underrated category, in my opinion, for winter cranking. I love mid-depth cranks. Again, I got a box full of them. That's one of my favorites. So when I say mid-depth, I mean from probably 6 foot to 10 foot. And there's a lot of different baits out there that cover that range. But for some reason, guys either want to fish deep or they want to go shallow. Again, I like fishing riprap. I like points that are close to deep water. Some of these points I'm fishing, they run out on top of the points 3, 4, 5, 6 foot of water for 50, 60 yards. I like to get down the sides of that. And so this is a good little bait here. This is 6 cents Curve 55. It's kind of like a wigglewort, but it's got a lot narrower bill. This bait only runs about 8 foot. Generally speaking, 12-pound line. But if you look at that, it's got kind of almost a wigglewort-like body. But if you'll notice, the bill isn't as wide.
It's real slender.
Yeah. So this one's slender. So what this does is gets it a really tight vibration. And this isn't really it doesn't dig into the bottom. It's designed to like tap the bottom. And so, everyone talks about the crawfish click and all that. I don't know if that's true, but I know this thing's just tapping on the bottom. I like this on not a super chunky rock, but like down bluffs. I like to fish bluffs during the winter. Just ticking the bottom. Really good profile, but it also makes this bait do this little number. It kind of makes that S action.
So that's why it's called the S curve. Got it. So
you'll think, man, I'm throwing this. You go, man, this thing it's not tuned. No, it's tuned. It's designed to not go in a straight line. So that's going to get you a little response from some fish that are active and they're hunting bait fish or whatnot, or maybe a crawfish. I mean, this is my special color, the old jank juice. But this bait really catches well. My son, he's been throwing one when we've been going fishing off the bank and catching them. But there's so many good ones in this category. I'm going to run through a few if you got the time.
Oh, absolutely. I love it. This is probably my favorite depth of crank. And like a little tip I'll throw in there too real fast is don't be afraid to throw even that deep crankbait in this water depth because it dives a little bit deeper, and if you have fish that are feeding down,
absolutely,
sometimes that deeper diving crankbait is going to get you a couple more bites because as you're turning that reel slowly, you're kicking up bottom and you're getting the attention of some fish. And also another thing in the wintertime, Baitman is grabbing some baits here, is if you speed crank a deeper diving crankbait through there, you can get fish to fire even when that water temp's like 45, 46 degrees. We find that all the time up here with smallmouth when the water's real cold. If we burn like an OSP EXDR, they'll smoke that thing out of your hand.
Absolutely. I'm trying to get one out here. It's kind of a sleeper too that a lot of people kind of forgot about.
That looks like an MR6.
It is. And then I got an old school bait. Andy, I like the old school stuff as well.
Oh, yeah. You can never beat old school, especially crankbaits. I feel like old school crankbaits sometimes even produce better than the new ones. So,
yeah, I think a lot of that, and to me especially, is just confidence. I grew up fishing some of these baits and learned the techniques about them and stuff like that. And I'm just really, really confident in some of these old school crankbaits.
it's all real time, like casting and retrieving. You learn all the intricacies, especially if you have the right rod and reel set up with the line, like, and you can tell exactly what that bait is doing. And that's how you get more bites crankbait fishing, is knowing what your bait is doing under the water.
Absolutely. So I kind of got a little bit out here, maybe too much.
It's okay.
I've never been a guy that has too little, if you know what I'm saying.
I mean, I'm sure if you pointed up that webcam, that tower goes for quite a ways.
Yeah. You saw me trying to climb on my stool to get a box earlier. But let's start here. And it's hard to beat a Rapala. So this is a DT8. It's not a 10. It's a DT8. And so this bait was really made to cover that mid-range depth. They had a DT6 and a DT10. You had a gap there. So guys like me, I like that 6 to 10 foot, and they really didn't have anything there. I could throw a DT10, definitely get it on the bottom, but I had a bigger profile. One thing about this mid-range is I like baits that dive that 10 foot but don't have real big bodies. And a DT6 is a balsa bait, and so they're a little bit more buoyant in cold weather. Problem is, you slap one on the water, you're going to have to go get a new bill. So do not slap your Rapalas on the water.
Or you'll get half the bait and your hooks will be gone.
Correct. But, this one's been a good one for me. This is kind of like, it's like a pearl gray shiner or green gizzard.
It looks like green gizzard, I think.
Yeah. So it's just a shad profile. And a lot of guys think you got to have a red in the winter. Red works great. But there's a time, especially right now on our lake, there's threadfin shad everywhere. There's little baby gizzards. They get up on the riprap on these points. They're protected from the wind or blown up on there. And these little colors are really natural. They get you a lot of bites. But small profile base, really not a big body, especially compared to a DT10, but it gets down there. And then you said MR6. Well, the MR6 is almost an ABS version of that DT6, DT8. It says go 6 foot, but I get this thing down to about 7-8 foot. And difference in this, it's not silent. Yeah. It's got a rattle in it. It's made by Bill Lewis. It's loud, but this thing has a really quick back and forth motion. I mean, it really goes back and forth. Where the DT is really tight, this one seems to wobble like this right here. A little bit more flash on this bait.
Nice. I actually just got some MR6s. I've never thrown them before, and I just ordered some from Omnia, and I'm really excited to throw them once our lake's thaw, especially for largemouth.
They cast really good, and that's one thing about these baits I'm showing. They all cast well. So a problem you'll run into in winter fishing when you're downsizing your cranks is I can't cast them really far. Well, I like ones that I can cast. Even the DT8, it casts pretty good. Now, wind blows, I'm actually probably going to switch to something I can cast a little bit better. This is an old school one. This is I believe it's a fat-free fingerling. It's in the fat-free shad category. And again, this one's red, but it gets down there in the 8 to 10 foot range. Not a really big body, but it's got that nice kind of roll and side-to-side action that the fat-free shad is famous for. Really good bait here. These are kind of getting hard to find. I don't know if people just don't carry them anymore. I know they still make them. The old school ones with Bill Nance auto on it, they bring some pretty good money. And there's a reason they catch fish. It's a really good bait. My other OG favorite, and me and Mark Menendez are good friends, but I've been throwing this bait for a long time, and that's a Series 3 Strike King.
I love a 3XD.
Yeah, so some guys love the 3XD. It gets down deeper. 3XD is going to get you down that 12, 13 foot range. When I'm going to get that 8, 9 foot, I like a Series 3. It doesn't hang up as much. The bill's not quite as wide, so it'll have a little bit tighter action. Green gizzard, chartreuse shad, and they make a variety of red ones that do really good in the winter. But this is kind of when I need to get a bite. And especially down riprap, I like that Series 3, man. It really, really catches fish. And you can find them anywhere. It deflects
actually really well, too, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so the thing about on riprap, the angle it's going at, and it's got a nice little tight action. You can feel it vibrating really well. When you hit a rock, a lot of times it off the side. Let it pause, man. I've caught so many fish for feeling it hit a rock a piece of brush or something down there, just letting it stop, count to 2, then start the reel, and all of a sudden want to be on there. And it's just got that small profile. And, you want to get a high end. You just mentioned it a while ago. The OSP Blitz. I believe
that's the MR, I believe, right?
Yeah, Blitz MR. Dude,
yeah.
This thing straight up catches. Yeah. It's got that honeycomb body. It's got a nice tight action to it. It's deadly. It doesn't even make noise. It's so silent, but it really catches fish. And it's a different type of bill. So that's not a rounded bill. It's not a thumbnail bill. That's almost a fat coffin bill. So it gives it a really unique action, and also it makes it deflect really, really well. So that's a good one. And then kind of like a Series 3 from 6 Sense, this is the Crush Mini 250. And man, that threadfin shad color, I've caught a lot of fish on this. The guys skip over these smaller crankbaits that dive in that 6 to 8 foot range, but these really catch a lot of fish in the winter. And I throw them on a 6-to-1 or a 5-5-to-1 ratio. Pretty much anything I throw in the winter, except maybe my flat sides. Yeah. I want to be able to fish them fast but efficiently. So I feel like a 5.5 or 6.3 is the best to get them down there quick, and then I can just slow turns to the reel handle. I like I said before, I like a moderate to moderate fast rod. I want it to load up. And if you don't have one of those, if you can find a glass rod, it's even better. Now, the problem about glass is it's a delayed reaction. So by the time you feel the fish, he's probably got it. So, which is a good thing. In the winter, these fish are lethargic. If you got a graphite rod, you feel it instantly. Your tendency is to pull. With that fiberglass rod, they seem to get the bait and hold on to it. It's a little bit easier of a fight.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
Have you thrown the Alpha Angler Rebound yet?
I have not, man. So I'm going to be totally honest. I've never used one of the rods. I have heard nothing but great things from everybody that's used them. I've heard guys say their chatterbait rod is amazing. I've heard their cranking stick's really good. And I've heard they make some awesome swim bait rods. Maybe something I'd love to try. I'm willing to try everything.
Yeah, the Rebound, it's an S-Glass technology. As you know, I partnered with Alpha Angler. Yeah. And the Rebound is a 7-foot casting rod. So when you watch Brandon Polinick crankbait fish on the Elite Series, that is the rod he uses. But it also works as a good 3/8 ounce and under chatterbait rod because it has a ton of backbone. But the reason why I like it is it's S-Glass technology, so it's structural grade fiberglass. Mm-hmm. So it's almost just as sensitive as graphite. So you can literally feel your crankbait as what it hits, and you can tell what it is.
Yeah, so
you can feel the fish eat it instead of it just get heavy as your standard glass rod would.
Right. So that's always been the problem with glass.
Yeah.
You lose sensitivity. And also glass rods tend to be a little bit heavier.
Yeah.
And it can wear you out throwing one of those. And you can miss some fish, believe it or not. And that's kind of the old school me. The old school anglers always like a glass rod for wintertime fishing.
You just don't lose fish on them. Honestly, if they're on, they're on. They don't come off.
Yeah. And I feel like with the glass rod, you can actually get away with a little heavier line. Yeah. If you're fishing around grass or stuff like that in the winter, you can use braid. I know that's, oh gosh, crank in and braid. But around grass, man, it allows you to like rip that crankbait out from the grass. Like Gunnersville guys, man, they're throwing those DT 10s, whatever crank in that zone. They're fishing new grass that's just forming, and they're using those mid-deck cranks or lipless baits, and they rip it out. And so what that glass does is so soft, they use braid. It allows them to rip it off, but that rod delays that. And for some reason, I feel like because of that delay, that bait just sits there on the top of the grass, and those bass look at it and they eat it.
100%. Then when you rip, you're like, oh, I got one. All right, so let's digress here real fast, and we're going to hop into shallow cranks, which I know the deep and the mid-depth are your favorites. So kind of chat about the shallow cranks, then we'll get to our last question.
Yeah, so I keep it really simple, shallow cranks for the most part. Now, I'm a flat side fanatic. I probably got more flat sides than anything. It's my favorite time of year to throw a flat side crankbait, probably starting February into March. So when I'm talking shallow, I want 4 foot or less. So this right now is my favorite mass-produced flat side, and I did have a little say-so in this guy, and this is the Flat Finesse 4 from 6 Cents, and it's got a weight transfer system in it, so I can make those long casts. It's got a micarta bill in it, circuit board, and it's a thumbnail. So that thumbnail bill really allows it to get down there, and it's going to bang off little rocks and stuff. It's going to deflect really, really well. But the deal about a flat side crank, a lot of people think they all have really tight action. This does. It's got a nice little tight wiggle like that. But if you notice that red, you see how that it's really flashing? Even when you got like a white or chartreuse and black, that's going to flash. It's kind of like, it's a flickering effect. And so that really gets their attention. They react to that as well. Another
even
flat
on a
side,
really slow retrieve, it still
has
a real good listing kick and roll to it.
So another one I really like, and believe it or not, this one actually runs about 6 to 8 feet. But the deal on this guy is I catch a lot of bass on this thing. If I can get her out here, trying to get the right color. This one will work. We're talking about winter. Is this guy right here? This is Spro Little John MD. Like, one thing about Spro, you're getting a quality bait with quality components, and these things run great straight out of the package. So I like a little brown crawl like this. They make a color called Spring Crawl that
I have a question about those.
Yeah, go ahead.
I know when they first came out, they had like a different sound than they do now. Did they change something in them?
So at one time, there's a ball bearing in there for weight transfer. It was coated with tungsten. It had a tungsten like putty coating on it. So some of them have a different sound. I don't know what the new ones are. I haven't bought any in like 3 or 4 years.
So you probably still have the tungsten coated ball ones.
Yeah, so when I bought them, I didn't buy like one. Like I bought like half a dozen of 2 or 3 colors. Now I'm down to a few because I'm that guy that I don't go chase them down. If I get one hung up, I just break it off and on to the next.
Like, I got 6 more.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, I'm a little superstitious. If I get stuck in a brush pile, I don't really want to bother it, and I just don't want to waste time. I mean, they make crankbaits every day, but if you're a guy that maybe you're not on an unlimited budget, I definitely ain't. Invest in a lure retriever for winter fishing. The other thing is too, it's just a square bill, and it doesn't matter what brand. You're going to get days in the winter, and I got to find my square bills. I just reboxed them up the other day. Try to find one for you, Andy.
It actually looks like it's behind you. The 4 boxes up Bass Mafia box. It looks like there's like some brats in there.
That's the big square bills. That's like my 100, 200 size square bills. I like something like a KVD 1.5. I know I got some here.
Like the Craft 1.5 is another really good one.
Yeah, dude. So I'm trying to find that box. I literally just organized my stuff the other day, trying to figure out what happened here.
So on the left side, so it'd be, you're right, I think, 3 boxes up. It looks like you have a box of like J13 joining crankbaits.
Yeah.
Is it that box right above there?
I think it's this box right here. There we go. Yes. Yes, indeed. Thank you, Andy. So, hey, I've got so much stuff, I just kind of lose it every now and then. But, so you said RC 1.5. So this is one I really like.
The original RC 1.5.
Yeah, this one's not, but I got some right behind me.
Rayburn red you had there. That's good color.
Yeah, so this is a really good winter color. This is called Rayburn Red Flake something. And it's actually got Takehiro's signature on it. It's like Red Flake, Red Gills. I don't know.
Is that the RTO version?
I'm not sure. I think it's actually just the regular Lucky Craft 1.5. But man, I've caught a lot of fish on this guy, and it's kind of a translucent red. It's not too bright. It's really good once it really starts warming up. But I like a square bill like that up shell. You know, your square bill is your full-wheel drive of crankbaits. You can go through wood, come through grass. It's great around rocks, docks, you name it. You get these time of year when you get a real good warming trend and you start seeing the bait fish up shell. That's when I go to my square bills. I'll cover water. I like the RC from Lucky Craft. If you can find them, I might be putting some real juice out here right now. If you can find these baits, this is a Jackal Aska. I believe it's a 50. Actually, the Aska 60 millimeters. That's a juice color right there. That's
The
kind of
Jackal discontinued the Askas too.
Yes, they did.
Why do they always like? I'm gonna call Jackal out real fast. Why do they discontinue all the good stuff and keep all the junk? Like, it makes no sense to me.
Dude, I have no idea. They frustrate me so much.
Like, man, I finally found a Jackal bait I love. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yes.
It's discontinued and I can't find it anywhere.
So if you find a Jackal bait you like, you better stock up. Like, me and you talked about it for the show. The bow stick.
The Super Eruption spinnerbait was one of the best spinnerbaits ever built, in my opinion.
The Aska. The Muscle Deep, which I wanted to talk about. That's a badass winter crankbait. I don't talk about it. It works really good. I know a guy named Matt Allen from Tactical Bass and that loves that bait. But I keep it simple on the square bills. A Strike King 1.5. This is a really good color. This is green tomato. It's just a red with chartreuse. When the water's dirty, believe it or not, I like to crank some dirty water, and I want something that's red, chartreuse, like this. This is the rattling one, the hard knock. It's a little bit different. Dirty water, I want to rattle. If I'm in clear water, I don't happen to have a crawl in this box, but this is 6 cents 50X, very similar to an RC 1.5.
I just got some of those too.
Yeah, so they're easy to find, man. Easy to find, easy to fish, and it's just hard to beat those baits right there. But the cool thing about square bills, so many company makes one. Find a few that you're comfortable with that run good, and try them out in the winter. Like I said, you get a few days where you got a nice warm front coming. Get a little bit shallower. Find you some off-color water. Believe it or not, dirty water warms up a little bit faster in the winter. In spring, you'll catch you a few extra bass.
Like that, I'll give a little tidbit there on dirty water. Below 42 degrees, dirty water is no good. But as soon as you hit like that 42 mark and it's on a warm trend, the warmer it gets, the better it is. Those bass.
Yeah, take Andy's advice. If you go looking for mud and the high has been 30 for like a week,
run.
Yeah, run. But if it's been 35, 40 degrees, let's just say it's been water temp 40 degrees, and for a solid 4 days it's been in the 60s like it here is in Kentucky, you go find you some dirty water that's getting in that 50 degrees, there will be some active fish around.
Especially some riprap on that dirty water. That's going to be like the mother hub of warm. So, all right, well, let's finish it off here. I want to thank you for coming on, Kevin.
Hey, man, not a problem.
You're awesome for coming on and talking some winter crankbaits. But, this is our last question of the show, and it is the juice of the show, and it's been customized by Do It Molds, as we talked about at the beginning of the show. And if you like to create your own tackle, we kind of touched on that too. They have everything from lure customization, pouring lead molds, hooks, make your own jigs, skirting material, hard baits. They have everything on their website. And we just want to give them a little bit more recognition for what they offer the normal angler. But the question is, give us one customization tip or modification you would do to your crankbaits that would give you extra confidence in the winter to help you land more bass.
This is going to sound really, really simple. It's to change your hooks. And here's why. Bass are lethargic. They're not going to come after your crankbait like they would post-spawn in the summer or fall. So having really sharp hooks on your crankbait can make a huge difference, especially if you're a tournament guy. There's a lot of winter tournaments out there. Getting one in the boat is very important. Companies make baits with great hooks now. 6 Cents, Strike King, Rapala. Most of those brands and Spro all have good hooks. But in the winter, especially when you're cranking, you're going to dull them. So I change them out quite a bit. Now, whatever brand you want to use, that's up to you. I know Do It Molds carries lots of treble hooks. I've got a few. I like a Gamakatsu bronze hook in the winter. I like these decoy hooks. I think these are like a YF33. They're kind of a light wire. The G Finesse hooks, they're really, really sharp. But change your trebles for winter bass fishing. I've seen it too many times where I'm throwing the same crankbait I might have done in the fall, and I'm losing fish. I go change hooks, and I'm hooking up. Yeah. So that's my biggest tip. Don't be afraid to spend a little money. buy some nice hooks and put them on there. And you know what? If you don't use it, when you use it in the spring, you're going to have nice sharp hooks as well.
Awesome. Now, I do have one last question on those decoy hooks. Are they nano coated? Because I feel like that makes a huge
Yeah.
difference when the
So
water is cold because it helps penetrate
yes.
that hook faster.
So these are actually what they call silky coat. I don't know if y'all can see that on there. It's a silky coat. It's almost like Owner puts that Zowire coating on some of their hooks, and I like those Owner short shanks pretty well too. Actually, we'll use those on my flat sides.
Juicy. I like that. I'm a huge fan of nano hooks all the time. I just feel like your hookup rate is way better than just your standard steel round bend or even
Right.
triple grips. So
Yeah. So I like the Gamakatsu bronze as well. They are a thinner hook, and they do tend to bend. The trade off is, man, if one sniffs it, you usually catch them.
yeah,
So experiment, but I'm telling you, fresh treble hooks are almost a must for winter cranking.
thank you for that. So, well, I'm going to let you take off here, Kevin, and I'm going to wrap up the show. But I greatly appreciate you coming on and dropping your knowledge on us about winter crankbait fishing. And I'm sure we will be chatting more about crankbaits here in the coming future here on the
Yeah,
Lure
absolutely.
Show.
Anytime, man. And as always, you're welcome. And the Sirius Network's always welcome over on my YouTube channel. We can cut up and talk baits.
Yeah, always. I'm probably the tackle junkie of the three, so I always love chatting about that stuff. So until then, we'll chat soon, buddy.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, my pleasure. You have a good night, and thank you.
Yeah, bud.
See ya. All right, everyone. Well, thanks for tuning in to this week's episode here on the Lure Lab, where we're talking winter bait, crankbait fishing, wintertime crankbait fishing with the bait man himself, Kevin Baxter. I want to thank him for coming on and taking up a little bit longer episode time than we normally have, but that's okay because there's a lot of knowledge and juice dropped here, and we truly appreciate his knowledge that he brought forth to the table today. But as always, if you're on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button, throw a thumbs up, maybe write down in the comments below what your favorite wintertime crankbait is. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or whatever your favorite MP3 platform is, if you are able to leave a rating, please do. It helps us be seen to more bass heads, more tackle junkies like us here on the Lure Lab and the Serious Angler Network. And until next time, we will see you later.